All right, guys, welcome back to Everything College Football Podcast. Today, I'm here with one of my good friends, Hunter. How you doing, Hunter?
I'm doing good.
So today, we're going to be breaking down the top 10 quarterback rankings before the 2021 NFL Draft. I did the odds, he did the evens. Starting at number 10, we got Mr. Sam Ehlinger from Texas. What do you like about Sam, Hunter?
Sam Ehlinger is, he's a give it all type of guy. He's not going to back down from any competition. Whether it's number five Georgia back in 2019, 18, excuse me, or any big Alamo Bowl that they're in. You know, um, Sam Ehlinger is a running quarterback. He has decent, arm talent. But you know he's more of a rushing type of QB. Texas had a quarterback, Tyrone Swoops, who was just the same way. But Sam Ehlinger fits just a little bit better in the passing category. Also, almost 100 touchdowns at Texas, which is outstanding. Uh, you know, it's just
Yeah,
NFL coaches are going to look at arm strength on Sam Ehlinger, and they're going to, have controversy with it. You got to have a quarterback that can throw, and if Sam Ehlinger isn't, going to develop into that, he'd be more used as a, red zone QB.
Ehlinger, he's a guy you want in your locker room. Great leadership. He plays with great confidence. You see it when he runs. He's a powerful runner. He lays his shoulder pads down, plays through the whistle. But, the drawback really is the lack of arm talent. Shaky accuracy, completed under 62% in his 4 years at Texas. When he drops back in the pocket, he can be indecisive with the football. Sometimes concepts lack timing due to his movement in the pocket. He likes to move around. Sometimes he'll stare down his first read. Of course, the intangibles with the leadership and whatnot stand out, but the lack of arm strength is going to be a big problem. Um, I see maybe a potential position switch for Ehlinger. He can maybe be a running back or a tight end because he's a guy you want. He's going to fire up your football team. He's physical. When he has the football in his hands. So I mean, there's a lot to like about Ehlinger. He puts his heart in every single game. He's seen that at Texas. He bleeds Texas orange. I see him going late day three. Do you see a potential position switch for Ehlinger if things don't work out at quarterback?
He could possibly, turn into the Taysom Hill of the NFL. Taysom Hill when he came out of BYU, I believe. Um, Hill exploded into that all-around player. Blocking punts, uh, catching, catching passes. Uh, if he works on that over the offseason, depending on if they want him to switch positions or not, Sam Ehlinger could probably, be the new Taysom Hill.
Yeah, that's just speculation on my end that a potential position switch could be in store. He might show up and do really good things at quarterback. I do think Taysom Hill's a good comparison. He did a little bit of all that when he was at BYU. Phenomenal runner. Um, didn't He wasn't as physical as Sam though. Sam's the more physical, but I do think that's a good comparison for the skill sets. I see the 49ers, the Saints, like we mentioned, and the Seahawks, probably the best fits for him to get in there and develop under one of the veterans.
Yeah, that is true.
Moving to number 9, we have Kellen Mond from Texas A&M. There's a lot to like about Mond. A lot of experience in there. He's very coachable. He's coached very hard at Texas A&M. What do you like about Kellen Mond?
Coming at from a Florida fan, I like when we play Texas A&M. Kelly Mond, he had the arm strength, the mobility. He was just named the MVP of the Senior Bowl, which is outstanding. Maybe boosted his draft rating. Not really sure though, but I feel like Kelly Mond is might be a steal, might not. He's going to go on the later day, maybe day three, potentially uh, late fourth round and plus. Um, he's one of those guys that is special. I'm not going to compare him to Johnny Manziel, but I mean, Johnny was him, but Kelly Mond is, developed throughout his 4 years at Texas A&M, which is, amazing.
Yeah, he developed, but never really showcased big improvements over his career. Nothing that really stuck. His accuracy is a concern. He has moderate arm strength. I think it's a little bit above average. He doesn't have any major drawbacks in one category, but there's a lot to work on. He has his throwing motion for one. He keeps the elbow high and tight, so he can't really change the angle on throws. He has solid mobility. He can make plays out of the pocket. I think he's a true developmental prospect. I think he can be a serviceable backup. I like the velocity and the ease on his throws. Even though that throwing motion will probably have some work. Um, he's like I just noted mentioned. He's coachable. Jimbo coached him very hard at Texas A&M. That's a big thing in the NFL. Being able to be coachable. So we have him here at number 9, but he could potentially sneak into the third round because I think he is one of those project guys who has a high ceiling.
Yeah, yeah, true that.
Moving to number 8, Hunter, you have Mr. Shane Buechel at SMU. He actually started his career at Texas, ended at SMU as Sam Ehlinger kind of came in and took that job away when Tom Herman was there. How are you feeling about Shane Buechel?
Uh, he's fifth year quarterback. Played for two teams. Shane actually threw for almost 4,000 yards in his 2019 season, which is amazing. Uh, you know, 307 passes completed at 490 with 34 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Uh, numbers kind of fell off in 2020, but interceptions went down, but so did the touchdowns. Uh, he's a quarterback that he's a not more of a mobility guy. He's more of the good pocket. He can run, but I feel like he'd rather stay in the pocket.
Yeah,
Um,
Buechel's biggest drawback, is probably his arm strength. Throws on the opposite side of the field, they lack accuracy big time because it takes his body a larger amount of force to get him there. He doesn't have a lot of standout abilities. He's moderate at best at the things he's good at. One thing he really does well is he keeps his eyes downfield when he's pressured. He can step up and find his man. Great vertical passer. He has good accuracy going west, east, and west. I think he could be a solid QB to start in a rebuild. To see what he's got. I think also if he could be like a Gardner Minshew type. We can impress if he's in the right situation. I think he can be another one of those serviceable guys. I think his ceiling's already kind of in place, but he can play for many years as a suitable backup. I see the Packers, the Vikings, and the Pittsburgh Steelers as the best landing spot for Buechel. How do you feel about that?
yeah, I mean, Steelers is debating on whether Big Ben's going to return. Obviously, Kirk Cousins is getting on in years. You know, uh, with Green Bay, knowing what Aaron Rodgers is going to do, who knows if Jordan Love is, that QB that's ready to lead. Um, it's just something that teams are going to have to look at, going towards the future, what he can bring to the table for any NFL team.
Yeah, I think Minnesota with all the weapons they have, I think that'd be an interesting fit and see what he can, get him in there in a preseason game, see what he can do, have him learn behind Cousins a little bit. I think he'll play many years. He feels the rush. He has good mobility. He doesn't have elite traits, but he's pretty solid at everything. I think that's what's going to keep you around as a long-term backup.
Yeah, it is definitely.
Moving to number 7, Jamie Newman. Well, it's listed as Georgia, but he really never played at Georgia. He started his career at Wake Forest, transferred to Georgia, and later opted out of the season. A lot of people recommended him staying at school for the final year. He decided not to. I think that kind of hurt his draft stock. How do you feel about Jamie Newman?
You gotta love his height. You get his height and weight. 6'4", 230 QB. I mean, you can't really ask much of that. I feel like Jamie Newman could have had a good season. JT Daniels stepping in was, I think JT's gonna explode next year for Georgia. So I feel like Jamie Newman did the right thing and entered the draft this year. At Wake Forest, a dominant quarterback. But never really got to shine. With harder competition in the ACC as Clemson. A couple losses to teams that probably shouldn't have been. But other than that, I mean, he's a good quarterback that I feel like could potentially be a QB2 type of QB.
Yeah, I think Newman really moves well for his size. The inexperience is a concern. Only 1 year as a starter. He played the final few games in 2018. But, like you said, his frame, 6'4", 230. He's a very physical runner, especially in short yardage situations, kind of comparable to a Jameis Winston, I guess you could say, in terms of size, but a better runner. Toughness, resilience. His biggest drawbacks, though, when it comes to throwing, he's kind of predictable. He often locks on the one target, stares him down. He's not the very best when it comes to the mental processing. He's only accurate in the area. He's not a precision passer. In the NFL, you need to be spot on. He's not going to be able to put a zip on the ball. He can fit it in tight windows, but he kind of lacks the comfortableness in that category, and it's struggling to adapt. That's another thing that's kind of a drawback for him. He needs to take a lot of strides as a passer, but all the tools are there. The skill set he has it. His inconsistent mechanics that can be coached on. I see him as an early day 3 pick. I'd really like to see him come back for at least another season or have played in 2020. We did, and you can't do that now. Good things have been reported from him out of Mobile in the Senior Bowl, so we'll have to see what how teams feel. I don't know if he's going to be at Georgia's pro day, but I think the projection around for Jamie Newman is an early day 3 selection.
Yeah.
Moving to number 6, the final 6 quarterbacks all are projected to be within, I'd say, the top 40 picks. We have Kyle Trask. There's a lot to like about Kyle Trask, including his ball placement out here.
Exactly. Trask came into the college football season. He was the talk of college football, but favorite Heisman. But I feel after the LSU loss, he took a dip. I felt like that stuck with him throughout the next 2 games he played against Bama and against Oklahoma. We all know what happened in the Oklahoma game. 2020 was the year for Kyle Trask. Before entering Oklahoma, only throwing 5 picks, which was, amazing, and 43 touchdowns before the postseason. He, a little over 4,000 yards. He's a good QB that could develop. I think Kyle Trask, the most important thing that is, probably going to shock everybody is, his ability to escape. I understand he might not want to run, but, if he gets the chance, he'll go pick up the first down.
Yeah, he didn't make a lot of plays out of the pocket, and his mobility is kind of limited. But he didn't really make a lot of head scratching plays. He always seemed to make the right play, whether that was making good reads and going to the check down. Finding his guy downfield. Trask, phenomenal season of the Oklahoma game. Not too worried about. He didn't have a lot of chemistry with those guys, especially with the limited practice. So I throw that out the window. Not a big deal whatsoever. He doesn't have flashing arm strength. The velocity doesn't exactly carry downfield. He doesn't have a laser of an arm. He's not going to fling it into a pocket or fling it into a tight window. But the ball placement is probably the best in the class. His progression has been impressive over his years under Dan Mullen. I really like Kyle Trask. We have him at number 6 because he's limited physically with his gifts, but when it comes to mobility and all that, but. I like his poise in the pocket. He would stand in there, take a hit. He has a high ceiling, though. Impact starter. I would like to see Trask in year 1 work on his anticipation. There was times where he'd wait for receivers to complete routes other than throwing it with timing, and that would, you can't do that in the NFL. Timing has to be pretty pinpoint. Where do you see, Trask potentially ending up when it comes to his draftee?
Kyle Trask, could be potentially second rounder, third rounder, or even, in the mid first. I feel as if if he doesn't get picked, that the teams that actually possibly need a backup quarterback, probably, to the second round of the NFL draft where he could fall.
The Steelers, again, one of those teams would probably be a good fit for him to sit and develop. A team like that could be in line for him if they don't go with an immediate starter. Could you concur with that?
Oh yeah, the Steelers, they brought back Josh Dobbs from Jacksonville. I don't really think he's made the impact, coming out of Tennessee. Kyle Trask is someone who can, really push that Steelers team back into the playoffs, as, Big Ben did. He also has weapons, but that would be the, leading wide receiver drop team in the NFL.
A lot to like about Pittsburgh's supporting cast, though. I think the same thing with Minnesota, who I mentioned earlier. I think Trask, he's not. I don't know if he's going to be the guy that's going to uplift your team that doesn't have a lot of talent, but I do know that around a lot of talent, he can consistently win. 12 games a year. So I think it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. If he ends up with a team like Minnesota or Pittsburgh, I think he can really do some damage.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving to number five, we have Mac Jones, another guy who's kind of like Trask. He really impressed in 2020. Jones again, he's a lower tier athlete, but he's a high level distributor. He completed 77% of his passes, 4,500 yards. It's granted he had the best supporting cast in football. So there's kind of some question marks when it comes to his decision making because he didn't have to go through full progressions a lot of times. How do you feel about Mac Jones?
I like Mac Jones. First year starter, learning under Jalen and two, I think really brought him to where he is now. Uh, Mac Jones isn't going to be your typical runner at all, uh, pocket guy. He'll take a run if he needs to, but I feel like he doesn't know how to slide, going back to the Ohio State game when he rolled up on his ankle. Um, you know, Mac Jones, Mac Jones could potentially come onto the scene, maybe not first season, but a second season starter. And you're right about his decision making. All he had to do was, throw it up, and his Heisman receiver Devontae Smith would be there. But they might not be on the same team. He might not have the same Devontae Smith. So that's gonna have to be something he works on the NFL.
Yeah, I don't think that he's again like I said about Trask. I don't think he's going to carry a team that lacks the talent. But if he has the talent around him, the team's going to thrive. He didn't have to make a lot of tough decisions, but a lot of the throws he did make were highly impressive. His anticipation was great. He's consistent with his ball placement downfield. There's a lot to like about his arm. I'd like to see him work on his bases. He throws flat-footed sometimes. I'd like to see him get back to high-level mechanics. I think all this is coachable though with Mac Jones. He's another one of those guys. I think he'll play a long time if he's in the right situation. I think his draftee will know that. If he fits the situation or not. Another one of those guys will be interesting to go to. His accuracy, ball placement, they stand out. But I think the role is going to have to be the same. We're going to the NFL, similar talent level. What team do you think? I noticed we mentioned the Steelers and the Vikings. Is there any other team that would probably be in potential for a distributor like this?
Yeah, potentially Mac Jones going to the Indianapolis Colts. Uh, I understand they have Jacoby Brissett, but he's also,
They don't seem very committal to Jacoby.
Mac Jones could be that, pocket type of guy. He has one of the best O lines if he was drafted by the Colts. An outstanding, Jonathan Taylor, Naheem Himes. He has a good wide receiver course too, as Michael Pittman could develop. He played outstanding this year, besides in some games. The tight end core he has would be amazing. And, the Colts probably, take a wide receiver in the second round if they do choose to go with Mac Jones in the first round. And, they could potentially be a playoff team for the next, couple few years.
Yeah, I think Indianapolis would be a really the ideal situation for Mac. It'll be interesting to see like Trask who goes there because they could probably go either or. I think this quarterback class is very interesting. After 1 and 2, the marbles will start to fall, but a lot to like about number 5 and number 6. Moving to number 4, Trey Lance. This guy, he's impressive. He lacks experience, but they only played one game in 2020, but in 2019, look at this: 42 total touchdowns, 0 interceptions, almost 4,000 yards for Trey Lance. How do you feel about this guy?
Trey Lance is, he's explosive. Coming from a little small school up, by the Canadian border. He's someone that's gonna, he's gonna shine at the next level. He's not afraid to run the ball. He's not afraid to run you over. The lack of experience, is something that is potentially could hurt him. 2020 only playing one game, But as you mentioned in 2019, no interceptions, which is
Unheard of,
amazing.
yeah.
Almost 4,100 yards, 67 completion rate, which is outstanding. Uh, Trey Lance could be in the conversation of going before Zach Wilson. A bunch of mock drafts have him potentially going in front of Zach Wilson. Um, but either way, this is probably going to be, Trey Lance, number four. He's probably going to be, a first round selection. I mean, I'd be shocked if he went to the second round.
Yeah, he's really slept on inexperience, like we mentioned. That's a big concern. He's not only a confident runner, though. He pushes the ball downfield with plenty of confidence. So he's not, he has deep ball precision. It's just impressive what he can do with his legs and his arm. I think it's going to be a good combination if you get him in the right system. If he's with the right coach. I think he's going to shine anywhere, but in the right system, I think he can really exploit his talents the best. There's a couple knocks on him. His first read isn't there. He'll look to take off and run. He kind of lacks the confidence in tight window throws. Not a problem. I think that can be coached out. The speed in the NFL is going to be a lot more, so that confidence could be shaken early. With practice, that'll stay there. The confidence is there, so I think that can be worked out. His field vision also needs to be improved. There's times where his first read wouldn't be there, and you take off and run because he has that dynamic to his with his legs. That's one thing. Justin Fields as well. He's more laid back when a runner. He keeps his body protected. That's one thing you want to see with Lance. You don't want to see your franchise quarterback on the ground. A lot of people said he might end up in Washington. What do you think's a good fit for Lance?
Trey Lance, yeah. I mean, Washington could be there. Um, potentially seeing him, save the New England Patriots probably draft up, a trade up. I mean, that could be a good fit also. Um, it's going to be interesting. These top four guys about where their futures hold if they're all going to be selected in top 10. But Trey Lance, Washington, or maybe New England would be. I feel like the perfect fit for him.
Yeah, strong arm, confidence in the pocket. He's very calm. He's also got that aforementioned running ability. I think no matter where you put him, he could uplift a franchise. New England, for example, their biggest problem is they lack offensive talent. I think Lance. I think you have to give him some patience though with his development due to the inexperience. But I think if you give him that patience, I think he can uplift your entire program or your entire football team despite the talent around him. I think that's what Lance brings to the table, and I think New England would probably be an interesting fit.
No doubt about that.
Moving to number three, Zach Wilson. This is a guy I've compared to Josh Allen in terms of mobility, arm strength. What really stands out about Wilson?
You know, uh, Not really, much talk beginning of the season. Still an interesting QB. Really exploded, in this year. Um, I like, I like Zach Wilson's arm strength. He can make that throw that you need. Whether it's running out of the pocket, planting his feet, and bombing it down the field. He didn't have the Mac Jones group with the wide receivers, but he sure made those plays when they counted on him.
Yeah, almost astonishing play from Zach Wilson. He's an accurate passer. His mobility in and out of the pocket is just extremely dangerous. He's a great runner. Just exactly like Josh Allen is. He's also got elite arm strength. He can make any throw on the field. It's a close number two between Wilson and Fields. We gave Wilson number three here, but I really like this guy. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes above Fields. I wouldn't blame any team that does it. You know, um, he has all the tools there. When it comes to what he can do on the ground with his arm, his legs. He works through his reads. He's very accurate. He really showed improvement in accuracy in 2020. That's one thing that really stood out about him. One of his knocks, though, lacks experience versus elite competition. I don't think that's ever been really. It's not always been a big deal. They said the same thing about Carson Wentz coming out of college at North Dakota State. Lacked elite competition. The same thing will be said about Trey Lance. I don't think that's. I don't think that's too big of a deal. His accuracy can be spotty under pressure, but he also has some character concerns. His people want to mention he's a rich kid. His uncle owns JetBlue. They say he's selfish, not a leader, and is confident. But he has confidence. He won't back down despite being selfish. I think that's another thing that can kind of be coached out of him. But it is kind of a concern. If he's a rich kid and he's selfish. He might not be the last one to leave the training room. That's not who I would want leading my franchise. I'm not there. I don't know the situation, but if that's something that's being mentioned about, I'm certainly concerned.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of talk between Zach Wilson and Justin Fields. You can't go wrong with either of them.
Yeah, moving to number two, we have Justin Fields. One thing I like about Justin Fields is he has impressive mobility in the pocket. He can extend plays. His crisp footwork is just so clean to watch. What do you like about Fields other than just his nice pocket presence?
Yeah, I like Justin Fields as a player. He's really, he's not that T Law in the draft, but he's up there. He's he's a good mobile QB. He can make plays, whether it's cross body, running to the right. You have to throw downfield. Um, he's an excellent passer with the ability to hit tight windows, as we've seen throughout the last two seasons he's been at Ohio State. Something Fields can probably work on is recognizing when it's a blitz. I feel like that's something that is gonna you know torture him in the NFL when he does get drafted. Is recognizing blitz. Defensive coordinators nowadays do a great job disguising, and college and NFL's. They're the same blitzes, but it's a lot more bigger people coming at you.
Yeah, it's nice that you mentioned that. He only has 22 starts though. So granted, he's still learning to position rather. Indiana, that's something they did. He threw three picks. They really disguised coverage. They really fooled him on that. That's one thing that really stood out on tape. It concerned some people too much. I wasn't really too concerned about it. He's still young to the position. Because overall, he has great velocity, superb arm talent. He showed that against Clemson. He hit Chris Olave on a ball that was like 60 yards in the field. Perfect placement right into his hands. You know, he has the abilities as a runner, like we've mentioned, like everyone knows. He runs a 4.5, and he preserves himself as a runner. That's a big deal in the NFL. You don't want to be playing yourself into injuries. I see Fields going top five. I think he's going to develop when it comes to being able to make reads. He has all the tools there. He has all the physical gifts. I think he's going to be a phenomenal player. Where do you see Fields outside the top five or inside the top five?
Yeah, I see Fields in the top five. Um, depending on whether Zach Wilson is taken or if Penel Sewell is going top five, which he probably will.
It's kind of
I
dependent on
see.
what the Jets do. I'd like to mention. I think whatever they do, I think that's what the cards will start to fall. If it's Fields they take, then that's who they take. If they go Zach Wilson, Penny Sewell, that's when I think the cards will start to fall. But continue on your point.
Yeah, if Zach Wilson is taken before Justin, I could potentially see Justin Fields going to the Atlanta Falcons, maybe. As Matt Ryan is getting old, and there's a great group of young receivers up there, plus Julio Jones, which is also getting old as well. Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, very talented group, and I could see them, exploding maybe a couple years down the road.
Yeah, I see the Falcons as really the best fit. It could be a great bridge into the future because Ryan still has a couple years under contract. They can actually get out after 2021, I believe. They can get out after that. Have Fields sit behind him, learn for a year. Whatever they do with Julio, they can keep him. They can trade him away for some assets. But they do have Calvin Ridley, and I think Fields. He doesn't have to have elite talent around him to showcase his skills, but they'll continue to work on that. I think that's just a perfect fit overall as the Falcons. I do think, like I said, the Jets might be in consideration, while the Panthers could also be a team to watch. I love Teddy Bridgewater, but there's been talks that the Panthers could go ahead and get another quarterback to secure themselves for the future. I think the Panthers are going to be a great team. So whatever they do, I don't think is a bad decision for Carolina. Moving to number one, Trevor Lawrence. He's been listed as a generational talent. They've called him the best draft prospect since Andrew Luck. There's a lot to like about Trevor Lawrence. How do you see his projection at the next level?
He's potentially a lock to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars, which are, struggling. But, I say with a few draft picks and their potentially future quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. They could, they could start probably down, but I feel as if they'll work their way up in the next, decade maybe. Uh, you know, Great talent like DJ Chark, D. Westbrook. Those guys they can be explosive. Maybe comparing, Trevor's wide receivers that he had to Jacksonville's wide receivers right now. DJ Chark, the T Higgins without, you know, crossing out the speed that DJ Chark has to T Higgins. I feel like it's kind of a match. And also with, D. Westbrook, Amari Rogers, those are two guys to look out for that could break out potentially, when Jacksonville picks Trevor.
Yeah, the Jaguars also have Colin Johnson, Laviska Shenault. They have pretty solid talent. I don't think this is a bad case for Trevor whatsoever. They also have James Robinson, who shined as an undrafted free agent. There's plenty of weapons. I think if you insert Trevor, who has the potential to uplift a team regardless. With that talent, I think they can maybe make some magic. We speak about his elite physical gifts. He's blended with exceptional IQ, the intangibles, the elite arm talent. There's just nothing but a long list of pluses when it comes to Trevor Lawrence. He can make any throw on the route tree. The zip and the velocity is just highly impressive. Do you see any areas that Lawrence really needs to work on, or are you pretty happy with his overall skill set?
Uh, you know, I don't think there's really stuff to clean up with Trevor, besides, locking on to a one man throw. You know, going back to what I said about his targets, he's going to have different people to go to. I understand he have Justin Ross this year because of, heart condition. So it was more of the Maury Rogers show. Um, but, Trevor Lawrence, if when he gets good protection, I don't think he can be stopped.
Yeah, even if when the protection is lacking, he's got phenomenal pocket presence. He can step up, make a play. Overall field general, he's an underrated athlete as well. He can take off and make runs. I like to see him protect his body a little bit more. I think we'll see that at the next level. Passes. Well, the one thing I'd like to see him clean up. Passes will sail on him when he's at him with his set his feet. Against Ohio State, he missed a wide open target as the rush. Caused him to throw off his base. Sometimes he likes to unload downfield. And that's another thing. He has the arm talent. He likes to use it. There's just a little bit of deficiencies. These aren't massive drawbacks, you should say. Just some things that kind of stand out on film. You like to see him work out because everybody has their flaws. His anticipation at times was also a little spotty. Everything, like we said, is coachable. I don't think any of this is really a big deal. I think that he's very deserving of all the hype he has received, and but he'll have to prove it on the field once he gets drafted.
Yeah, exactly. And I understand he's not a loser. Two losses in the college career, but
Yeah, winner as well.
change have to go down a little bit.
Yeah, I'd also like to mention, he has great mobility for his height. He's 6'6". I believe he's about 220. Great mobility for being that tall. Like you said, winner, 37-2, three college football playoff berths in his time at Clemson. He also really shines in big time games. Very excited to see not what just Lawrence can do, but the rest of this QB class, especially numbers 1 through 6. I think all these guys will be taken within the top 40. A lot going on in the NFL when it comes to quarterback. Anything else you have to add? Any other guys you might think will be standouts? That could probably flash under the radar when it comes to this offseason in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, I feel as if, just being that the running QB, as in Sam Ehlinger, might go undrafted, but any team that potentially picks him up, I feel is getting a good deed.
Yeah, Sam Ehlinger. Like I said, I think he could be in store for position change. Big fan of Ehlinger, though. I hope he shines as a quarterback. I hope he gets an opportunity to showcase his skills. I think Jordan Lynch from NIU is kind of a good comparison for Sam Ehlinger, and he, of course, had to make the transition to another position. Didn't work out, but I think Ehlinger, he has the edge and the attitude. He can certainly stand out if he was to switch to a running back or a tight end position. If you don't have anything else to add, we'll go ahead and wrap this up.
No, I'm good if you're good.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you guys for checking this out, Hunter. Appreciate you having you on. Everybody leave a like and subscribe. And everybody have a good day.
I wanted to talk to you guys about something that's up and coming in the college football recruiting world that I think is pretty exciting. MVNM is a website that allows you to pay college players to go to a school that you want them to go to. Think of it like Kickstarter, but for college football recruiting. Let's say I'm an Ohio State fan and I want Quinn Ewers to go to Ohio State. I can throw in $50 into a pot that he would get only if he goes to Ohio State. If he doesn't go to Ohio State, then I get my money back. That means that the player either goes to the school that you want them to go to, or you get your money back, so you can't lose. To show you an example, again with Quinn Ewers, $3,500 have been given to him only if he goes to Texas A&M, $2,500 if he goes to Michigan State, and so on. Now the dollar totals aren't anything crazy yet, but this has been gaining a lot of traction recently, so I expect the pots to get pretty big soon. And yes, this is legal. Players will get the money after their college eligibility is done. However, it's soon going to be that the players will be allowed to get paid, and when that happens, they would get the money when they commit. In my bio, there's a link tree, and I'll link this website if you want to check it out yourself.